Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to The Bald Perspective. Let's talk. The Baltimore Ravens pull up to a 5-5 record after defeating the Cleveland Browns on this past Sunday. And as a result, the conversations about the Baltimore Ravens making the playoffs through the path of winning the AFC North have begun to grow louder and louder. But the question is, are we ready yet to start talking about the Baltimore Ravens and the playoffs? Are we ready to begin to have that conversation about the path to the AFC North Division? Or have the Baltimore Ravens earned our trust up until this point? You see, I believe that it's too early for all things Baltimore and playoffs. I think it's way too early for all things Baltimore and winning the AFC North Division. Because although we won 4 straight and we have a high potential to win a 5th straight and get over 500 for the first time all season, I'm not 100% sure that the Baltimore Ravens have really proven anything. I read a comment yesterday from someone who responded to one of the videos and said that, hey, the type of win that the Baltimore Ravens earned on Sunday is the type of victory that could propel them to do something in the playoffs, meaning if they're in that same type of grinded out situation. And the type of victory that the Baltimore Ravens got on Sunday, I do agree, that could lead to some level of resilience and fortitude when we get into a playoff type situation. But nevertheless, they haven't earned my trust, nor do I think they've earned the trust of the Baltimore Ravens fan base. You see, what is the Baltimore Ravens known for? You see, by this time in the season, after playing 10 games for the Ravens and 11 games for some of the other teams who have not had a bye week, you can kind of pinpoint what some of the teams ahead of the Ravens in this playoff race, you can kind of identify what they're known for. When you look at the very top of the AFC, you're looking at the Colts. They're known for running the ball and Daniel Jones playing complementary football in the pass game. It's been working for them. They have, I think, only 2 losses on the season, and they are on average, 28 to 30 point scoring offense. And then we look at their defense side of the ball, they're going to smack you in the mouth, right? They may not be elite necessarily, but they're going to fight you hard, and they're going to fight you all the way to the end. That's what you know the Indianapolis Colts for. When you take a look at the Denver Broncos, defensively, they're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to play a smash mouth brand of football. And offensively, they're just going to run the ball, do some things in the pass game, not put too much pressure on Bo Nix to do big time things. And it's been working for them. But when you know that Denver's coming to town or you're going to Denver, you know that you're going to have to fight them to the very end. This team has no quit. That's what you've learned about Denver this year. When you look at the Patriots, right? What do we know about the Patriots? They're well coached. That's number one. And if they're well coached, that means you see discipline on the field. And no matter what you think about their offense and their weapons, no matter what you think about the defense and the names associated with that defense, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be in the right place, right time. And if you don't out-discipline them, you will not beat them. That's why with a second-year quarterback, they sit at the top of the entire AFC. And so when you think about the Patriots, you think about them doing what they need to do every play, down in, down out. And if you don't handle your business, you're not beating the Patriots. That's what we learned about the Patriots. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think we know much about them. They've been inconsistently performing on defense, and they've been as inconsistent on offense. So we don't know much about the Steelers, and that's probably why the door is still open for the Baltimore Ravens to walk through. But let's go to the 5, 6, and 7 spots. Buffalo, I believe, occupies the 5th spot. What do we know about Buffalo? Well, their goal is, over the last 2 seasons, to run the ball with James Cook and then let Josh Allen complement that. Use the running backs out of the backfield, Ray Davis, Tyler Johnson, and James Cook. So even though they don't have brand name, well-known wide receivers, their running backs have done a serviceable job to make that offense explosive at times. And so then defensively, just do enough to stay in the game, just do enough to help your offense out. And so That's what you've seen. Now, does that mean we know anything about Buffalo necessarily? Not really. But what you do know is Buffalo is the type of team you're going to have to play to the end of a game, no matter how their defense performs and no matter how their offense is performing. All right. When you think about the Chargers are an inconsistently consistent team. What does that mean? They typically beat who they're supposed to beat, and they'll sneak up and surprise you and beat a team that they were underdogs against. So they have the element of surprise. That's what I think about the Chargers. And the same thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also have an element of surprise. They have franchise level quarterbacks, big, strong, who also can do some things with their legs. They have complementary wide receivers. And so on any given Sunday, these two teams, Chargers, Jacksonville, can win. And that's what we've seen this season. The Chiefs, a lot of question marks about. Has that offense gotten too old too quick? Has that defense, not aged as well as they thought they would with the contracts and money they've invested into it? And so the Chiefs have a lot of questions. And as of late, you've heard many people talk about the Kansas City Chiefs as not making the playoffs. And then here comes the Ravens in the 9th spot. I believe that's where we are. And I believe that the Chiefs and the Ravens have the same identical record. And the reason why we're behind them, of course, the Chiefs beat us. And of course, Buffalo beats us, who sits in the 5th spot. And so if we end up with the same record as those two teams, we don't get in over those two teams. So the only way into the playoffs for us is you need a Jacksonville fall off, you need a Chargers fall off, or we have to win the division. But here's the question. What do we know about the Baltimore Ravens? I don't think we know anything. The Baltimore Ravens have spent 11 weeks of football and 10 actual games, and we still don't know what we're going to get from them on a Sunday to Sunday basis. We just don't know. We don't know if the defense is going to come out and shut down an offense and get after the quarterback and get some turnovers, which was not the story pre-bye week, or if this turnover trend is going to keep happening, if we're going to keep making the right blitzes, or we're going to keep putting pressure on young, inexperienced quarterbacks, and of course, force those turnovers, which gives a middling offense more opportunities to score the ball. Because the offense, we don't know what we're going to get. This offensive line is terrible. Myles Garrett, who makes a lot of offensive lines look terrible, he made our offensive line look almost invisible this past Sunday. He made Ronnie Stanley, who we just reinvested $20 million per year over 3 years into, he made him look invisible on many, many occasions this past Sunday. He was by Ronnie Stanley before Ronnie Stanley even got out of his stance. And I think that because we don't know what we're going to get from the offensive line, then we don't know what we're going to get from Lamar Jackson. Then we don't know what we're going to get from Derrick Henry. And if you don't know what you're going to get from Lamar Jackson, that means you can't really depend on what you're going to get from the tight ends and wide receivers. And so this offense has fallen into a level of inconsistency, a level of regression, because we have not gotten better after Lamar Jackson has reestablished himself as the starter. Tyler Huntley was Chicago, and then Lamar Jackson has been the last 3 games. And this offense does not look more explosive. It does not look more dynamic. It just doesn't. And if you say different, then you hadn't watched the TV. But again, I don't think it's Lamar Jackson's fault. I think it's a combination. I think Lamar Jackson may not be 100%. Matter of fact, I'm almost sure he's not 100%. And this offensive line is just bad. So the conclusion is, I think it's too early. I think that we must wait and see if we beat down the Jets and reestablish some level of a run game. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to scheme the run game better. I think they're going to have to show some 2-back sets. Again, I'm reiterating this. Henry and Mitchell. Mitchell and Hill. Henry and Hill. And maybe even a little bit of Rashawn Ali, depending on Justice Hill's injury status, right? Why 2-back sets versus 2 tight end sets? Well, if you go 2 tight end sets, you have 7 across the line of scrimmage. Lamar makes 8. 1 running back makes 9. You only got 2 wide receivers, which means the defense is going to be condensed and they're going to be closer to the line of scrimmage, which also minimizes the ability to run. But if you went with a 2-back set and put Lamar Jackson under center, now you got Derrick Henry moving towards the line of scrimmage, which defenses then have to honor. Then you can create the back out of the backfield scenario with a Mitchell or a Hill, but you can also pitch it out of the backfield, because if the defense bites on the play fake, linebackers get sucked in, edges get sucked in, safety may get sucked down, and now you can get the edge with a quick pitch. That keeps Lamar Jackson from having to try and keep it and, do his thing in the run game. Nevertheless, I think that they're going to have to scheme up some different things, because what we're doing right now has us a less than average offensive output from week to week. So you guys let me know what you think. And until next time, I'm out.